Have you heard about homeless people? As a concept, I mean. We've talked about homelessness a bunch of times on stream, usually because somebody comes up with a brand new innovative study where they find out whether or not giving money to homeless people improves their lives, and then it does every single time. So we get to enjoy those pretty consistently. Ron DeSantis was, up until he crashed and burned recently, a rising star in the GOP, largely because he was, for all of his faults, a real go-getter as the governor of Florida. Under Governor DeSantis's tyrannical reign, Florida has seen a significant increase in population and national prestige for a wide variety of reasons. A lot of this isn't necessarily because of his good governance. A lot of it is because, a lot of, aggressively adoring conservative media attention, and also because people have been fleeing coastal cities. Coastal cities have been having a housing crisis, depending on the city it varies, but for the most part, a housing crisis for a long time. As a consequence of that, a lot of people have left. A lot of people moved to Florida, which a little while ago had lower rent costs. And now rent costs are skyrocketing. So Florida is having an increasing homeless problem. How do we deal with it? Governor DeSantis seeks to ban camping in public throughout Florida to get homeless off streets. A potential statewide homelessness ban. Just flat out. No homeless. You can't be homeless. Sorry. What are you going to do if you don't have a home and homelessness is illegal? I don't know. That's pretty crazy. I don't know. Liquidate them?
Stop in South Florida today. He held a press conference in Miami Beach to address what he calls a problem when it comes to the homeless population across the Sunshine State. And he says that he has a plan to curb the issue. ABC6's Steve Litz is live in Miami with the details tonight. Steve.
And hi, Juan. Some statistics from the Homeless Trust here in Miami-Dade County put some numbers behind the situation. In August of 2022, the number of homeless people that's unsheltered out here on the streets in Miami-Dade County, that was up to 1,140. And then it was last August of 2023, that number dropped by about 15% down to 900.
By the way, this number is absolute bullshit. The idea that the Miami-Dade County, which is massive and has a lot of people in it, has only around 1,000 homeless, absolute bullshit. There's no way that's accurate, Leaving aside assessments of people who are like essentially homeless because they're crashing on people's couches with no real home to stay in, even if we're just talking about people who are literally on the streets, it is definitely more than this. Where'd I go? I'm showing the numbers. I was showing the numbers right there. I was blocking there.
180, and homeless officials and a whole lot of others are hoping that those numbers continue to go down. Live on Northwest 17th Street here in Miami, just outside the Camilla's house, where you see behind.
Denver has 9,000, so yeah. Yeah. Also, another thing to keep in mind is that if you're going to be out there on the streets, Miami is a relatively good place to do it relative to a lot of other places. If you're homeless, like properly homeless in New York during winter, you could die. Florida is warm enough, consistently enough, that as long as you're not soaked to your bones, as long as you have something to protect you from the rain, you could sustain being homeless easier. That's one of the reasons why there are so many homeless people in Los Angeles, by the way. Because again, the relatively temperate weather is more forgiving on people who aren't protected by permanent shelter.
Behind me, there are tents popped on the sidewalk. If the governor's proposal passes up in Tallahassee, this will become illegal.
Homelessness in Florida, a problem the governor is looking to reduce, backing legislation in Tallahassee preventing people from sleeping in public.
We are going to keep our streets clean. We're going to keep our communities safe.
House Bill 1365 says a county may not authorize or permit public sleeping or public camping on public property, public buildings, or public rights of way. The county can designate certain property for public sleeping
camps
with minimum sanitation levels like access to clean and operable restrooms and running water.
And I believe compassionate legislation.
Miami Beach's new mayor insisting arresting people who are homeless works.
If a person
Collar gap, of course he would say that.
Is homeless and is camping on a public streets or public right-of-way, and they are offered shelter and they refuse it, the police officer has the discretion to make that arrest.
I think Mayor Minor thinks you can arrest your way out of the problem, you cannot do that.
No shit. Yeah, by the way, guys, here's another good way of knowing those numbers are wrong. Do you really think there would be a statewide crackdown on homelessness and mass arrests of them to funnel them into designated camping areas if there were only 1,000 homeless people in the Miami-Dade County? Like, think, would such a minor issue really be given the statewide crackdown treatment? I don't think so. I don't know, they waste energy on trans high school bills. Ah, that's true. That might be true. You know, proportionality has never been a concern for them before.
Ron Book, chairman of the Miami-Dade County Homeless Trust, calls the governor's proposal a very good start, even using the B word when speaking of lawmakers up in Tallahassee.
This is bipartisan support, Steve, I think. I think you'll see people supporting this across the board. We need to end homelessness in this state.
You're not ending homelessness by funneling them all into designated homeless areas. That's just putting them in a camp.
And this is the beginning of that dialogue.
I take it as like kind of the dad test. Like, can I just take my kids and just walk down the street to see shop? You should.
Yep. Oh, every fucking time, dude. Every time these ghouls want to deal with homelessness, it's literally, we're tired of seeing these dirty degenerates when we walk around our city streets. It is never, every effort to frame it as a like compassionate effort to help the homeless, it's bullshit every single time. It is always because like we don't want these dirty pores blighting our city streets as we walk down them. Every single fucking time.
Should be able to do that every place without having to worry about homeless or being accosted by somebody.
Homeless trust officials do say high rents, low wages.
That same Miami mayor is being accosted by allegations of sexual harassment. Oh, nice. Yeah, that tracks.
And the fact that this is a huge immigrant community all factor in to why homelessness continues to be a problem here in South Florida. They also say mental health and the influence of drugs and alcohol are part of the problem too.
Crazy. So solutions, perhaps, maybe. DeSantis said he's open to provide funding for sheltering and to address mental illness and substance abuse as a component of the initiative. But the bill has already been filed. When are you going to add that? Shouldn't you have included that in the bill? The Senate proposal would limit to 1 year the continuous use of areas designated for homeless people. Oh, great. So if they do have a designated homelessness area, it's not even permanent. It's just for 1 year. Martin said the aim is to help homeless people get needed treatment, not to step on the toes of local nonprofits. What treatment? What treatment? Can't have them making a home out of it? Yep. This is in San Diego. San Diego city leaders and Mayor Todd Gloria unveiled the city's newest safe sleeping site at a parking lot in Balboa Park on October 20th, 2023. The new site will have 400 tents that can accommodate up to 2 per tent. Great. 2 people per tent. That's what homeless people need. After sleeping on the streets, they need to be crammed 2-person to a tent here. That's great. Thank you. Those are ice houses. What the fuck? Yep. San Diego, a city with an ungodly number of people and wealth. Their glorious solution to their homelessness issue, seizing a parking lot outside of the downtown area and putting a bunch of like cheap Eskimo tents up so they can cram homeless people in here 2 to a person, you know? Liberal compassion. Yeah, hating homeless people is a subject where Republicans and Democrats, you know, shake hands. To use the B word, a bipartisan agreement. So is there really like not a single... Wait, what is this? Oh, I was at the bottom of the thing. Is there really not a single like existing provision for the number of people? Are there any other official metrics on homelessness in Florida? I just don't believe that 1,000 number. There are an estimated 3,400 homeless individuals in Miami County, Florida. I don't know if I believe that either. But that's more realistic. Suarez says he's lowered Miami's homeless from 6,000 to 600, but experts say that's not true. This is from last year. I don't know. The fact that parking spots are publicly funded, but there's no public housing is genuinely sick. Yeah, you know, what public money gets spent on. Pretty clear biases there. Seriously, Vaush, don't say Eskimos like the N-word for the Inuit people. Really? Oh, I didn't know that. Well, that is what it said in the tents. You showed me a bunch of tents that had the N-word hard R printed on it. You know what I'd say? Yep. Those tents right there, I'd say it. Yes, I would. Be brave about it. That's what it says in the tent. What I can tell you anecdotally is the issue is exploding. Where I am here, it's a massive issue. Literally every bench and every sidewalk has an ever-growing number of homeless people on it. Just remember, it would literally save the county, the state, the city, whatever, money if they built real homeless shelters. Housing first, homeless initiatives rather than just like whatever the fuck they're on about now, you know, liquidating them, turning them into chicken feed or whatever. Speaking of, Kentucky Republicans aim to legalize force against homeless trespassers. Okay. Donald Trump's plan to end homelessness. You don't say.
Surrender to the homeless, the drug addicted, and the violent and dangerously deranged. We're making many suffer for the whims of a deeply unwell few, and they are unwell indeed. The homeless have no right to turn every park and sidewalk into a place for them to squat and do drugs. Americans should not have to step over piles of needles and waste as they walk down a street. Under my strategy, working with states, we will ban urban camping wherever possible. Violators of these bans will be arrested, but they will be given the option to accept treatment and services if they're willing to be rehabilitated.
Ah, how nice.
For those who are just temporarily down on their luck, we will work to help them quickly reintegrate into a normal life. For those who have addictions, substance abuse, and common mental health problems, we will get them into treatment. And for those who are severely mentally ill and deeply disturbed, we will bring them back to mental institutions where they belong.
That's true. He's definitely going to propose anti-homeless legislation that puts aside the billions of dollars that would be necessary for nationwide, rehabilitation services for homeless people and reopen the mental health care facilities that have been closed. Vaush, couldn't this be used to detrans trans people? Considering how many homeless youth are LGBTQ? Maybe, yeah. Anyway, with regards to that Kentucky bill, the bill dubbed the Safer Kentucky Act, officially known as HB 5, HB 5 includes provisions that deem the use of force justifiable against homeless people camping on their property if they believe that criminal trespass, robbery, or unlawful camping is occurring on said property. Going further, the bill also deems deadly physical force justifiable if a defendant believes a homeless individual is attempting to dispossess or rob them of their property or committing arson. So it's basically just like stand your ground law provisions and allowances, except specific to homeless people. I think it's funny that they're attempting to create like a separate category for homeless people. Like literally, if a person is homeless or deemed to be homeless, because you can never know, right? It's like, oh, they have a separate category that allows you to treat them worse. You know, it's not a general law about arson or robbery or trespass. It's like, well, if the vagrant on your property looks smelly enough, then you can do whatever. See, that's why I'm all about the fashion art, guys, okay? If you dress up enough, no one will mistake you as homeless, all right? Your drip will be too clean. They won't be able to hit you with anything.